Hello everybody, I'm the Red Man. A little something about myself. I like sports, video games, and Japanese cartoons, even though most of them are bad. I dislike very strongly Nintendo, however, for reasons many of which are going to be illuminated quite clearly in this video today with the help of this article from PC Mag. But first, let me set the stage a little bit. A month ago, maybe a little more, there were some rumors on the internet of a Nintendo Switch Pro in the works. And while, like I say, I strongly dislike Nintendo, I wouldn't say I hate them. I save my hatred for Nintendo fanboys. Nintendo itself, I just strongly dislike. But I do like Metroid games, and I am to understand Metroid Prime 4 is in the works, although I am to understand it has been in the works for eternity at this point. So a Nintendo Switch Pro kind of intrigued me. If they actually came out with a console that wasn't an up-jump potato clock that dropped frames like a narcoleptic juggler in an antique shop, I may have just had to scrounge up the scratch in order to get me one, and a copy of Metroid Prime 4 whenever it may come out. These rumors were circulating a little before E3, but at E3, Nintendo mentioned nothing about a new Switch coming out, and distracted everybody with a teaser trailer for Metroid Dread, a 2D Metroid game that cannot possibly justify a $60 price tag. Now, I don't know that it will have a $60 price tag, and if it doesn't, fair play to Nintendo, I approve. If it does have a $60 price tag, fuck you. Just fuck you. I like 2D Metroid games as much as anyone else on Earth, but a 2D game in 2021 or 2022 does not justify a $60 price tag, ever. I could just get Axiom Verge 2 for like $20, and that's basically a 2D Metroid game at a third of the fucking price. But I'm getting off topic. It seems that Nintendo knew what they had in the works regarding a new Switch, air quotes, massive air quotes around new, was going to be extremely underwhelming and therefore left it out of E3 entirely and rather shamefully tried to slide the news under the radar some weeks later by announcing the new OLED Nintendo Switch or Nintendo Switch OLED or whatever they're calling it. And they were right to believe it was extremely underwhelming. This is so bad even Nintendo fanboys aren't terribly excited for it. Let's go down the 6 cool things in the new OLED Nintendo Switch and see what a massive insulting pile of twat this is. Though first, this article, as you can tell by this headline, and I have mentioned these terrible headlines before, like in my Axiom Verge 2 no boss fights are optional video from a few weeks ago. Just why make it so clear that you are shilling this console? Just say 6 new things in the Nintendo OLED Switch or Nintendo Switch OLED or OLED, whatever you're saying. Just call them new. Don't call them cool. You're not a 17-year-old girl, you Will Greenwald, you putz. I am once again getting wildly off topic. Before we start this article, I feel I should do a quick recap of the Nintendo Switch lifecycle. See, the Nintendo Switch's life started when Nintendo released an up-jump potato clock claiming that it was a new console. This underpowered piece of shit was hampered by dumb-ass ill-conceived hardware gimmicks like being able to make it a handheld and take it with you, and it's also a console. And all this did was basically mean it had the worst drawbacks of handhelds combined with the worst drawbacks of consoles. Now, I understand that Nintendo is a Japanese company primarily concerned with the Japanese market, and Japanese people only have time to play video games on the train ride from their work pod to their sleep pod. So I get the handheld angle they were going for, but combining it with a console just nerfed the shit out of their console, and they ended up with an underpowered, chintzy piece of crap that has shit just break off it randomly, which we'll actually get to in this article to some extent. Later, they then released the Nintendo Switch Lite, which was just a handheld, and fair play, as a handheld, that was a perfectly fine piece of hardware. It is a quality handheld console. They probably should have just started by releasing that and then made a proper home console to stick in your home that can actually run video games without frame rates dropping down to potato. But they didn't do that. They released their garbage-ass original console, then released their passable handheld, and now they're releasing the new version of the Nintendo Switch, which, let's begin, is a pile of twat. Let's skip the opening paragraph real quick. Even this shill article admits, let's get this out of the way first. The OLED Nintendo Switch is not a new Nintendo Switch or Nintendo Switch 2 or Nintendo Switch Pro. Behind the screen, the hardware remains mostly unchanged. Nintendo hasn't announced a faster processor or new graphical capabilities with the OLED Switch. It doesn't seem to use a new NVIDIA chip that supports DLSS and 4K graphics as rumors said it would. There have been no claims of faster loading times or improved visuals. This doesn't seem to be the Switch version of the new Nintendo 3DS. You probably won't enjoy higher frame rates, and you certainly won't see ray tracing on this system. So right here, they came out and said it. I appreciate it right at the top of the article. This is the same pile of shit console the Nintendo Switch has always been. But now it costs $350 instead of $300. Aces, how do they justify this $50 increase in price? They don't. Here's the new things. What's new with the Nintendo OLED Switch? The big one is in the name. The new Switch has an OLED screen. This one's obvious. It's in the name. The new OLED Switch uses an organic light-emitting diode screen instead of the backlit LCD that's in the original Switch. OLEDs produce excellent contrast thanks to their ability to display perfect blacks. That's racist. Which LCDs can't? Properly designed and implemented, OLEDs offer wider and more accurate colors than mini LCDs. In short, the new Switch's screen should simply look better than the current Switch's screen. So great! As this garbage-ass console reduces your frame rate all the way down to the single digits and your gameplay basically becomes a slideshow, at least the colors will look pretty. $50. The screen's bigger too, by an embarrassingly small amount. The new model has a 7-inch screen, which is 0.8 inches bigger than the Switch's 6.2-inch screen. So this is a very minor adjustment that apparently comes from shrinking the black border around the active part of the display without dramatically altering the Switch tablet itself. It's 0.1 inches wider than the original Switch. So they basically made the screen take up more of the console, which why wasn't that in the original one, may I ask? Whatever. This barely even counts as an upgrade. This is where I start to almost get angry. The new Switch contains more storage. The original Switch launched with, and I'll insert here, a truly embarrassing 32 gigabyte of internal storage, which is good for most games and even modest collections. After all, Switch games don't suffer file size bloat like many PlayStation and Xbox games. Still, 32 gigabytes can quickly vanish if you download several big games. The OLED Switch doubles the onboard storage to 64 gigabytes for more wiggle room. It's 2021. The phone I got 2 years ago, half off on sale because it was the previous year's model, has more internal storage than your fucking video game console. Are you shitting me? Oh wait, of course, the Switch has always had a micro SD card slot, so expanding the system's storage has never really been an issue. My 256 gigabyte card has carried me far, but the increased internal storage is welcome. Here's what you do, even if you don't already have a if you do have a Nintendo Switch, do not upgrade to this pile of shit. If you don't have a Nintendo Switch, I would recommend you continue not having a Nintendo Switch, but if you wish to buy a Nintendo Switch, just get the original model and use the $50 you save not buying this pile of crap and spend it on some actual storage space, because Nintendo forgot to include it in their actual console. What a disgrace. It gets worse. The dock has an integrated Ethernet port. That they had to add this in the upgrade is fucking pathetic. Just embarrassing. Once again, it's 2021. You guys are finally joining 2008. Good work, jackasses. But oh wait, there's finally an adjustable kickstand. See, when you have your Nintendo Switch on the go with you, but you want to stop using a barely adequate handheld and turn it back into a truly useless home console, you can prop it up on your friend's coffee table with that shitty little kickstand and play on these garbage-ass Joy-Cons that are fit for a 4-year-old's hands. As the article says here, the original Switch had a tiny plastic kickstand that folded out and lets you play with the system on a table. The problem? The kickstand was terrible, holding the Switch tablet at a single, fairly high and wobbly angle. It was also prone to snapping off. You see what I mean about the Nintendo Switch being a chintzy piece of crap where stuff just breaks off of it at random? That is embarrassing for a $300 anything that it just starts breaking off. This is leaving aside the fact that these hardware gimmicks actually taint what could have been a passable console. Oh, but now you've got a wider kickstand that can be set at different angles, which... This is like putting rims on a car that doesn't run. You jackasses. It allegedly features enhanced audio. It even says down here, we'll fire that under maybe. The OLED Switch's product page simply says, enjoy enhanced audio from the system's onboard speakers. Presumably this means the system's, presumably, we don't even know. So it's really like 5 things and an optimistic guess that's new with this absolute pile of twat. This is Nintendo just pissing in the face of their fans because they think they can get away with it, because most of the time they do get away with it, because Nintendo fans are among the lowest forms of intelligence ever observed by man. Like I say, I dislike Nintendo because of this stuff, but to me it's a little bit like, I played rugby in college, as I must bring up as often as possible, and one time I was playing a match, several times, one specific time a guy stiff-armed me right in the mouth. Like, I get it. He's trying to carry the ball downfield, and me tackling him would have been a hindrance to that, so he stuck his hand out to keep me from tackling him, and happened to pop me right square in the mouth, and I wanted to beat him over the head with his own shin bones. So yeah, I was a little put out with him, but, it's rugby, and hey, it's Nintendo. It's their job to sell me crap. I don't like it, so I don't buy it, but I can't say they're being dishonest about it. They're just being pathetic about it. I hate the Nintendo fanboys that justify this bullshit from Nintendo by buying it. That is the underlying problem. Nobody has any standards for anything to say. Just it's the now old meme, consume product and get excited for next product. Don't use your brain to critically think about anything like this and think, why am I paying an extra $50 for a barely upgraded model of a console that was shit to start with? Do you really need Nintendo's 3 IPs that badly? No, you do not. Just save your money. Buy a mid-tier gaming PC. It is in fact going to cost a little bit more than this, but it will actually work. That's the fun thing. It doesn't come with a kickstand that breaks off. It won't drop your frame rate down to the Marianas Trench trying to run very mid-tier graphical games. It's just better than this rice-burning piece of chintzy, low-effort insulting crap in every way, shape, and form. But I've run out of stuff to rant and rave about today. I saw this and got pissed off. I had to let it out. I hope to God you don't buy this, or the old Nintendo Switch, or the Switch Lite. Fuck Nintendo. Like I say, it's dislike, but still it's to the level of fuck Nintendo. Just fuck them. But I'm starting to babble. I'll see you next time. Thank you for watching. Take care.